if you're ready, I'm going to leave it to you, and then you can get started. So have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you soon. All right. Hi and hello. And thank you very much. Have you lost weight? You look really good. All right. Nice. Hey, you know who that was, right? That was my future self. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how to take care of your future self. Things like, I know that I don't always take care of my future self. You know, I don't clean my brushes, or I don't scrape my palette, and then I come in and I want to paint and I'm ready to go, but I've got to do all of this stuff before I get started. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about tools, tips, practices, and how do you take care of your future self. My name is Dave Zabosky, and this is The Divine Line, where we explore that ineffable thread of creativity that connects all of us to life and creation across time, space, and consciousness. In order to take care of your future self, you're going to have to figure out, well, who that future self is. And apropos of that, I want to read you something that I ran across when I was in my 20s that made a huge difference about how I see the arc of my life and what I'm creating. And I'd like to share it with you right now. I'm looking for the book. It's over here in my bookshelf here somewhere. I think it's around here. Here it is. I got it. It's right here. All right. Let's go back over and I'll read this to you. Are you coming with us? Okay, come on, let's go. All right. This is from Hokusai, a Japanese brush painter from the 19th century who did some of the most fantastic images known to man. You've probably seen a lot of his work in the wave and multiple views of Mount Fuji. And he says something in this book that made a big difference to me about how I look at my own creativity. And I'm going to read this to you. He says this: "Ever since the age of 6, I've had a mania for drawing the forms of objects. Towards the age of 50, I published a very large number of drawings, but I am dissatisfied with everything which I produced before the age of 70. It was at the age of 73 I nearly mastered the real nature of and form of birds, fish, plants, etc. Consequently, at the age of 80, I shall have got to the bottom of things. At 100, I shall have attained a decidedly higher level which I cannot define. And at the age of 110, every dot, every line from my brush will jump to life as never before. I call on those who may live as long as I to see that I keep my word. Signed, formerly Hokusai, now the painting crazy old man." There came a moment for me when I had to make a decision that would change the trajectory of my life. If I went one way, my life would be this way, and if I went another, it would be different. And after consulting with my friends and my family and my trusted advisors, I got to the point where it was still a coin flip. What was I going to do? So you know what I did? Let me guess. I know what you did. You asked your future self, didn't you? Yeah, that's what it was. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I called on my future self. Oh, yeah, there you go. Nice. All right, so I wrote a letter to my future self, that person in the future, that's me, that highest part of me. Yes, that highest part of you. And so we started a correspondence, and we're still in communication today, and I really look forward to meeting him one day. So there's lots of things that you can do. There's lots of things that you can do to connect to that future self. And really all of it revolves around the signal and the noise. And so you got your signal, and you have your noise. The signal is that thing that connects you deeply to your creativity and your intentions. And the noise is everything else. So let's talk about some of the things that you can do to raise up your signal and reduce your noise. It all starts with these 3 pieces: commitment, time, and space. Your commitment, well, you've probably got that already, but it gets challenging if you don't have the time and space for it. So commitment, that's relatively easy. You say, here's what I want to create. But we've all had New Year's resolutions that didn't quite work out, haven't we? So what's next? What's next is time and space. So for time, any old calendar will do, knowing that it probably takes you a little bit to get into something and a little bit to get out of something. And this is where you take care of your future self, is you schedule some time. Even if it's just, here's where I'm going to start, or here's an alarm where I get to start, or here's as much time as I get to work on something. But you really have to be dedicated and create some time for yourself. It's not going to happen if you just hope it happens. Time is your most precious commodity. It's the one thing that you can't replace. The next thing you need to have is space. Now, we're here in my studio, and I've spent a lot of time cultivating this space to be able to create when I need to. I've got a drawing table, I've got a digital station over here. Here's where I do my oil paints. I've got my brushes that are clean and ready, my palette that's clean and ready. And so I'm set up for my future self if I need to come over here and start painting. But we don't always have a great amount of space for our stuff. And so just anything will do. I remember when I had started at Disney, I had a very, very small space to be able to create in. And it was important to me, so I continued to expand as I became more mature as an artist. But you can start anywhere. You just have to make a dedicated space. Maybe it's a small slanted table on your kitchen table. Maybe it's just a small spot in the corner. But whatever it is, find some space that you can dedicate to your creative process so that it's neat and clean and it's ready for you to get started right away. And I would offer this also to parents. If you've got a kid that you feel is really creative and is into some stuff, you don't need to get them classes right away. Just give them space. Make it easy for them to pick up something and make some marks and create. That's the most important thing, is getting some space to create. Now, here's another piece. This is my rig. It's a man purse, but it's also my rig where I keep all of the things that I need when I can create. If I don't have space or I'm traveling, then I use this. And I've got my watercolor palette in here. This is just a cigar box from the cigar store that I made into a palette. I've got my sketchbooks and brushes, and I have everything I need. In fact, when I was working on Pocahontas, yeah, I know, all right, another flex. There was a story about John Smith who went to lunch with another captain, and he was a ship's captain. And so they had lunch on the ship. And while they were having lunch, a storm came in, and they had to shove off to sea to be able to weather the storm instead of getting bashed around inside the harbor. And when the storm cleared, there were 3 Spanish man-o-wars. These are great warships that were facing off with this English ship, and they had to fight them. And so they fought them for 3 days. They sank 2 of the ships and chased the other one off. And by the time they were done, they were so far away from the port in Morocco that they just decided to sail on to Denmark and call it a day. Well, I thought, what can you carry over your shoulder that you could go to lunch and then just never come back? And so I've set up this rig. It's got little things in it that I can create wherever I go. So if I don't have the space, at least I've got this that comes with me. Now, another way to reduce the noise is to get out in nature, to take a walk in the park. It's been proven scientifically now with experiments that walking actually activates the bilateral hemispheres of your mind, flooding the brain on each side through the corpus callosum, giving us more processing power as we walk. That they've asked in experiments people to solve problems after a walk, and they found that their creativity is enhanced when they've gone walking. And in fact, that goes deep, that one of the oldest principles known to Western civilization is called solvitur ambulando. It means solve your problems by walking. Or maybe you could reduce the noise by just finding some quiet time, incubating a little bit, putting it all down for a moment, getting connected to nature. As long as your neighbor doesn't have their air conditioning on all the time, making that terrible buzz. All right, so that's going to about do it here. Make sure that you subscribe, and that if you have any practices of your own, any things that you do to be able to turn down the noise and turn up the signal, share them in the comments below. And again, subscribe, because we're going to be sharing incredible tips, tools, practices, and systems that I learned at Disney and beyond about how to turn your thoughts into things at the level of your imagination. So there's lots of good stuff to go. This is just episode 2. I'm going to get better at all of this, and I'm going to share some really incredible stuff with you. And so I think that's about it for me. If you're ready, I'm going to leave it to you, and then you can get started. So have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you soon. All right. Hi.